The photo shouldn't have been there. It was already on the table when I walked into Thomas's living room, perfectly centered like it had been placed for me to notice. A wedding portrait in a silver frame, slightly faded, a man in a suit, and a bride beside him. Thomas followed my eyes and smiled softly. "That's her," he said. "My wife." Something about the way he said it felt rehearsed. I stepped closer. The man in the photo was clearly Thomas. Same eyes, same sharp jawline, just younger. But the woman beside him... I frowned. "That's not her," I said. Thomas's smile didn't move. "Of course it is." I turned back to him. "The woman who opened the door for me, that's not the same person." For a second, the room felt smaller. Thomas let out a quiet chuckle, like I'd made a harmless mistake. "You must be confused." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I looked at the photo again. The bride had softer features, rounder face, different eyes. It wasn't subtle. "I'm not confused," I said carefully. Thomas stepped closer, just enough to close the space between us. "People change," he said. "Time does that." I nodded slowly, but something wasn't sitting right. "She doesn't look older. She looks like a different person." This time, Thomas didn't laugh. His expression stayed calm, but his eyes sharpened just a little. "You've only just met her," he said. "I've known her my whole life." That wasn't an answer. I glanced toward the hallway where I'd first seen her, the woman he called his wife. She hadn't said much, just a quiet greeting before disappearing into the back of the house. Something about her felt off. Not scared, not exactly, just careful. "Can I see her again?" I asked. Thomas hesitated, just for a second. Then he smiled again. "She's resting." "At 3 in the afternoon?" "She hasn't been well." That word lingered longer than it should have. I looked back at the photo, then at him. "Do you have any other pictures?" Thomas's fingers tapped lightly against the table. "Once. Twice." "No need. That's the only one that matters." The only one? That didn't make sense. A whole marriage reduced to one photo? I reached for the frame before I could stop myself. Thomas's hand caught my wrist. Firm. Not aggressive, but not gentle either. "Careful," he said, quietly. "It's fragile." I looked up at him. For the first time, his smile was gone. "Thomas," I said slowly, "what's her name?" He didn't answer immediately, just stared at me. Then, "Why are you asking questions like that?" Because something was wrong. Because the woman in the house didn't match the woman in the photo. Because the silence in this place felt controlled. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I pulled my hand back. "Just curious," I said. Thomas nodded, like he accepted that, but his eyes didn't leave mine. And in that moment, I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. He wasn't trying to convince me. He was trying to make me doubt what I was seeing. And somehow, it was starting to work. I shouldn't have stayed, but leaving felt worse. There was something in the way Thomas watched me, like walking out too quickly would confirm something he wasn't ready to hear. So I sat back down. The photo stayed between us. "You said she's been unwell," I said carefully. "How long?" Thomas leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. Calm again, controlled. "A while," he said. "She's not herself these days." Not herself. I glanced toward the hallway again. What does that mean? He tilted his head slightly. "Memory, mood. Some days she forgets things." My chest tightened just a little. "Forgets what?" "Who she is. Who I am." He paused. "Who we are." That sounded almost convincing. Almost. But then, "Does she forget what she looks like, too?" I asked. That landed. His expression didn't change much, like he had to choose his next words more carefully.
"You're overthinking," he said. "Am I?" Silence stretched. I stood up this time. I'd still like to see her. Thomas didn't move. "She needs rest. I won't disturb her. You already are." That was the first crack, small but real. I took a step toward the hallway anyway, and that's when I heard it. A soft sound. Not a voice, not a word, just movement, like someone shifting behind a door. Thomas heard it too. I saw it in his eyes. He stood quickly this time, stepping in front of me. "I said she's resting." His voice was still low, but firmer now. "I just want to check on her." No. Too fast, too sharp. We both felt it. The air changed. "You're hiding something," I said. Thomas exhaled slowly, running his hand over his face like he was tired of the conversation. "I'm protecting her." "From what?" He looked at me again. "From confusion. From people who don't understand." That didn't answer anything. If anything, it made things worse. I turned slightly, looking past him. The hallway door was closed now. I was sure it hadn't been before. "Did she close that?" I asked. Thomas didn't turn to look. "She does that sometimes." My heart started picking up. "She's awake, Thomas." He didn't respond. "She heard us." Still nothing. I took another step forward, and this time I knocked. Soft, but clear. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Nothing. Just silence. Then, a whisper, so faint I almost missed it. "Help me." Every part of me went cold. I turned to Thomas slowly. His face didn't look surprised. It looked resigned. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. "What is going on?" I demanded. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked past me, toward the door, and for a second, I thought he was going to open it. But he didn't. He just stood there, his hand resting against the wood, like he was deciding something. "Thomas," I said, my voice tighter now, "that woman is not your wife." He closed his eyes briefly, then shook his head. "Yes," he said softly, "she is." "That's not the woman in the photo." "She is to me." That made my stomach drop. "What does that mean?" He turned to face me again, and this time there was no smile, no confusion, just something darker, quieter. "Sometimes people become who you need them to be." The words hung in the air, heavy, wrong. "You replaced her." He didn't deny it, didn't confirm it either, but his silence said enough. "Where is your real wife?" I asked. That question changed everything. He looked at the photo, then back at me, and for the first time, there was something like fear in his eyes. "I've been asking myself that," he said, and somehow, that answer was worse.
Thomas stepped back from the door, not opening it, not walking away either, just creating space, like whatever was behind that door wasn't fully under his control. "You said you've been asking yourself that?" I said slowly. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked back to the table and picked up the photo, held it like it mattered more than anything else in the room. "She left," he said, finally. I frowned. Left or disappeared? His jaw tightened slightly. "She wouldn't just leave," he said. "Not like that." "Then what happened?" He looked at the bride in the photo. His voice dropped. "She started changing." That word again. Changing. "How?" I asked. "At first, small things," he said. "Forgetting dates, places, names." "That doesn't make someone else's face appear in a photo, Thomas." "I know what I saw." That stopped me.
You saw this? I pointed at the photo. A different woman? He nodded slowly. At first, I thought it was just me, he said, that I was remembering her wrong. My chest tightened slightly. But then, it kept happening. Silence. The kind that makes your thoughts louder. What do you mean it kept happening? His grip on the frame tightened. Other photos, he said. They didn't match either. That doesn't make sense. It didn't to me either. He looked up at me now. And then one day, she was just gone. A pause. And the woman who replaced her, I said carefully, you just accepted that? His eyes didn't leave mine. She knew things. What kind of things? Details no one else would know. Things only my wife knew. That sent a chill through me. But she looks different. Yes. So how do you explain that? He hesitated, then said something that made everything worse. I stopped trying to. The room felt heavier. You just decided she was your wife? I asked. No, he said quietly. I decided I wasn't going to lose her twice. That wasn't logic. That was desperation, and it showed. I glanced back at the door. Then why is she asking for help? That question hit harder than anything else. Thomas didn't answer, didn't move, just stood there. And for the first time, he looked unsure. She's scared, not confused, not sick, scared. His eyes flickered. No, you heard her. She doesn't mean it. That's not something you get to decide. Silence. Then, another sound from behind the door, this time louder. A soft thud, followed by movement, like something shifting quickly. I stepped forward again. This isn't right. Thomas moved faster this time, grabbing my arm. Don't. His grip was tighter now, urgent. Let go, I said. You don't understand. Then explain it. I'm trying to keep everything together. That was it. That was the crack, the truth slipping through. By locking her in a room? I asked. She needs time. For what? He didn't answer, because there wasn't a good one. I pulled my arm free this time, and before he could stop me, I reached for the door. His voice came sharp behind me. If you open that, you can't go back. I froze, not because I believed him, but because something about the way he said it felt real. Not a threat, a warning. I turned slightly. What does that mean? Thomas shook his head slowly. You'll see something you won't be able to explain. I looked at the door again, then back at him. None of this already makes sense. And with that, I opened it. The room was darker than I expected. Not empty. Not messy either. Just controlled. The curtains were drawn tight, letting in only thin lines of light that barely touched the floor. The air felt still, like it hadn't moved in hours. And then, I saw her. She was sitting on the edge of the bed. Not tied, not restrained, but her posture, it wasn't relaxed. It was careful, like any sudden movement might cost her something. Her eyes met mine immediately, wide, alert, not confused, not sick, fully aware. Please, she said quietly, don't close the door. I hadn't even realized I was still holding it halfway. Behind me, I felt Thomas step closer. Not rushing, just present. She gets like this, he said calmly. Paranoid. The woman's expression shifted instantly. That's not true, she said, her voice tighter now. Don't listen to him. I stepped further into the room. What's your name? I asked her. She hesitated, just for a second. Then, Emily. Thomas let out a quiet breath behind me. "That's not her name," he said. I turned slightly. "Then what is it?" He didn't answer. I looked back at her. "Emily? Do you know him?" Her eyes flickered past me, toward Thomas, then back to me. "Yes," she said. That surprised me. "How?" Another hesitation. Then, "He told me I was his wife." The room went still. "And are you?" I asked. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. That silence said everything. Thomas stepped forward now. "Don't confuse her," he said. "She's already struggling." "I'm not confused," Emily snapped, her voice stronger now. "You are." That hit something. Hard. Thomas's calm started to crack again. "You were lost. You didn't remember anything. That doesn't make you your wife." "You knew things," he insisted. "Things only she would know." Emily shook her head. "No, because you told me." Silence. That changed everything. I looked at Thomas, slowly. "You fed her information," I said. He didn't respond. "You made her believe it." "She needed something to hold on to," he said quietly. "No, you needed it." His jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "What's not fair is this, locking someone in here and calling it care." "I didn't lock her in." Emily laughed softly, a dry, empty sound. "Then try opening the window," she said. I glanced toward it, moved closer, tried. It didn't budge. Sealed. I turned back slowly. "Thomas?" He didn't look at me. "She tried to leave. She wasn't ready." "For what?" I asked. "To come back." That word again. Come back. "To a life that isn't hers?" I said. He finally looked up, and this time there was no control left, just something fragile. "She is my wife," he said. Emily shook her head again, her voice breaking slightly now. "No, I'm not." A long silence followed, and then I asked the question that had been building this whole time. Where is the real woman in that photo? Everything stopped, even the air. Thomas didn't answer, but Emily did, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think," she said slowly, "he already knows." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" She looked at Thomas, not scared, not angry, just certain. "I think she tried to leave, and something went wrong." The words landed heavily. Thomas's breathing changed, just slightly, enough to notice. "That's not what happened," he said quickly. Too quickly. "Then what did?" I asked. He didn't answer, because whatever the truth was, it was right there, and he was running out of ways to avoid it.
Thomas didn't move, didn't argue, didn't even look surprised anymore. Just tired. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that," he said. The room went quiet, not tense, not loud, just heavy. "What happened?" I asked, softer this time. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he sat down, slowly, like whatever he was about to say had weight to it. "She found the photos first," he said. I frowned. "The same photos you're talking about?" He nodded. "She said they looked wrong, said something didn't feel right." Emily shifted slightly on the bed, listening closely. "I told her she was imagining things," Thomas continued, "that she was tired, that her memory was slipping." My chest tightened. "You made her doubt herself." "I thought I was helping."
No, you were controlling the story. He didn't argue, because he knew it was true. She started asking questions, he went on, about us, about things I couldn't answer the way she wanted. Because the truth didn't match, I said. He looked at me, and for the first time, he didn't try to deny it. She said she didn't recognize herself anymore, he whispered. Emily's eyes softened slightly. And what did you do? She asked. Thomas swallowed. I told her she just needed rest. That word again. Rest. She tried to leave, didn't she? I said. He nodded slowly. She packed a bag, said she needed space, said something was wrong. A pause. I couldn't let her go. The way he said it, not aggressive, not angry, just afraid. So what did you do? I asked again. His hands trembled slightly now. I followed her. Silence. She didn't get far, he added. My chest tightened. What does that mean, Thomas? He closed his eyes briefly. There's a drop, past the east side of the property, he said quietly. Everything inside me went cold. You're saying she fell? He nodded, slow, heavy. I went down to look, he said, but I couldn't find her. Emily's voice trembled. You didn't call for help? I panicked. That was the truth. Raw, ugly, real. I thought, he hesitated, maybe she survived, maybe she left, maybe I could fix it. Fix it? With another person? I said. He looked at Emily. She was already lost, he said. No memory, no past. I thought maybe it was a second chance. Emily shook her head slowly, tears forming now. You didn't save me. You trapped me. Thomas didn't argue, because there was nothing left to defend. The photo on the table suddenly made sense. Not proof, not memory, just a version of reality he refused to let go of. And the real woman, the one in the frame, was never coming back.
No one spoke for a while. Not me, not Emily, not even Thomas. The silence didn't feel empty, it felt final. Like something had already ended, and we were just standing in what was left of it. I looked at Emily. She wasn't shaking anymore, wasn't pleading, just sitting there, her hands resting in her lap, her eyes distant, but clear. You're leaving, I said quietly. She nodded once, not asking, not waiting for permission, just deciding. Thomas didn't stop her, didn't move, didn't even look up. It was like the moment the truth came out, something inside him gave up. Emily stood slowly, walked past me, paused at the doorway, then turned back, not to Thomas, but to the room, to the bed, to the window that never opened. And then she left, just like that. No noise, no drama, just footsteps fading down a hallway that had held her too long. I stayed behind, watching Thomas. He hadn't moved. The photo was still in his hand, gripped loosely now, like it didn't mean the same thing anymore. She wasn't supposed to fall, he said. His voice was barely there. I didn't respond, because there wasn't anything to say. He looked down at the photo again, at the woman smiling back from a moment that didn't exist anymore. I kept thinking, he continued, if I just held on to it long enough, she'd come back. A long pause. But she didn't. The way he said it, it wasn't denial anymore. It was acceptance. Late, but real. I stepped forward slowly, reached for the photo. This time, he didn't stop me. I turned it over, and for the first time, I noticed something written faintly on the back. A date and a name. Not Emily, not the woman in the house, but the woman who was gone. The real one. The one who had tried to leave. I placed the photo back on the table, not perfectly centered this time.
just there. "Someone will come," I said. Thomas nodded faintly, still not looking at me. "I know." I walked to the door, paused, then glanced back one last time. He hadn't moved, still sitting, still holding on to something that no longer existed, and somehow, that felt heavier than everything else. Outside, the air felt different, clearer, like the house behind me had been holding something in for too long. Emily was already gone, no sign of her, just the quiet road stretching forward. And for a moment, I wondered, how many people had walked into that house believing a story that wasn't real? How many had stayed long enough to start believing it themselves? I looked back once more, then turned away. Because some truths don't fix anything. They just show you what was already broken. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing isn't the lie someone tells you. It's the one they believe enough to make you question your own eyes.